I think it's safe to say that ever since Season of the Chosen launched, I've been making video after video after video of the loot that you can actually get in this season. We've gone over multiple weapon sets, the God Rolls for the weapons in those weapon sets, as well as how to obtain every single weapon in those weapon sets. And today's video, 1 month into the season, is going to be no different. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be taking a look at the reprised Dreaming City and Moon gear in Destiny 2 Season of the Chosen. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, reprised gear is basically gear that's already existed, but has been brought forward with new perk pools, which basically means that, well, they're kind of worth taking a look at now. Just like all my other videos, we're going to be going in order of the most important weapons to the least important, as well as I'll be telling you guys not only the God Rolls for these weapons, but how to farm them out yourselves. Now, before we do jump into the video, I just want to remind you guys that I stream on Twitch around 4 times every single week, and I would love to have your asses over there. We stream all the time, we have a great community over there, and if you're not a part of it, please get your ass involved, or else you're gonna miss out on moments like this.
Yo, eat my dick sideways. Oh no!
We have heartfelt family moments like that all the time, and it would be a shame if you were to miss out on it, so just click that follow button. I mean, you got nothing to lose, right? Link in the description for those of you guys interested. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the video, and we're gonna go ahead and start today's video off talking about the Retold Tail Shotgun. Now, this comes from the Dreaming City, so I'm just gonna keep it quick and simple on how you farm Dreaming City loot. I can make a more in-depth guide if that will interest you guys, but here's the gist of it. Basically, make sure that you are doing Shattered Throne on all of your characters every single week. You can only do 1 completion per character. There's also not only encounter gear that you get for completing encounters, but there's also a few secret chests in there that you can grab to get extra loot. You can also do the Blind Well, do this public event with tier 3, you're guaranteed to get, you know, some loot from that. It could be armor, but it could also be weapons, so definitely make sure you're doing your Blind Well, and also make sure that you're doing your bounties / story missions from Petrovenge. If it says that it gives legendary gear, you probably should be trying to do it so that you can make sure that you get the most amount of gear possible for farming out your Dreaming City loot. Now, let's go and talk about the Retold Tail specifically, because this weapon right here, there's a reason why it's number 1, and the reason is because of sunsetting being canceled. Now, why is that important? Well, sunsetting being canceled and not actually being a thing going forward means that Bungie is going to have to nerf some weapons that are not going to be getting sunset, and they specifically mentioned Fellwinter's Lie whenever speaking on this nerfing of weapons. When Fellwinter's Lie gets nerfed, and it's definitely going to be a win, the Retold Tail is next in line for the energy shotgun slot. This weapon right here is listed as a precision frame, but don't let that fool you. It is not a slug shotgun. Think of it as a precision frame mixed with a aggressive frame, and you have the Retold Tail. Now, this thing right here is absolutely nasty. As you can see in the gameplay in the background, your boy definitely did a lot of work using this shotgun. You can get some crazy, really good rolls on this weapon. Taking a look at the PvP rolls that you can get, this is basically what you want to go after. You want to go after either full choke or rifled barrel. Full choke, of course, is going to tighten your spread, and this is actually going to be very similar to shot package from Fellwinter's Lie. The closer your pellets are, the better. Of course, rifled barrel is good too, because that's going to give you even more range to allow you to outrange other people. As far as the magazine goes, you want to go with accurized rounds. This is going to give you 10 extra range on top of your already good range. Going on to the first perk slot, you want to go with quick draw. There is no other reason to go with any other perk. Quick draw is absolutely the most powerful perk on shotguns. Quick draw is absolutely what you want. And in the second slot, you can either go with snapshot sights, Vorpal, or Killing Wind. Those are going to be your pretty decent rolls on this weapon. Now, personally, I would go with Snapshot because that has very good synergy with Full Choke, allowing you to aim down that sight, get that pellet spread tight, and then basically unload on your enemies. This is kind of sounding dirty if you think about it. But Snapshot Sight definitely does have a lot of good synergy with Full Choke and with this frame. Vorpal Weapon is also really good if you're trying to shut down supers by shooting them and then meleeing them immediately after. And Killing Wind is pretty good because if you're going on an absolute shotgun rampage, you kill your first guy, you're going to be able to run even faster, and your weapon's going to have even more range going up until the next gunfight. So 3 of these perks are really good. If you get Quick Draw, you are pretty much golden because the second perk slot has some very very good choices for you to get. I mean, even if you get something like Demolitionist, even that's not bad. The only ones that I'd really try to avoid is Surrounded and 1-2 Punch. Pretty much any of these second slot perks are going to be pretty decent for the shotgun, but personally I would try to prioritize Snapshot. But Vorpal and Killing Wind definitely do have some really cool characteristics if that's what you're going for. Now, I don't know why you would end up using this shotgun in PvE, but if you're curious for a PvE roll, you can go with Full Choke as well as Assault Mag. Assault Mag is going to allow you to shoot even faster, so that's basically the best mag you can get for PvE. You can also get Lead from Gold to get tons of ammo for this weapon, or you can go with Surplus to allow you to reload even faster. And for the second slot, you can basically just go for like Vorpal or maybe Demolitionist, but more than likely Vorpal. If you're using a shotgun like this, you're probably trying to do a lot of damage to a high health bar enemy. But the Retold Tail is definitely one that you want to get your hands on. Get your hands on this weapon. This is more than likely going to be replacing Fellwinners in the time to come. Now, moving on over from the Retold Tail, we have the Waking Vigil, the infamous 140 round per minute hand cannon. Now, I know that we are in a 120 hand cannon meta, but let's all be honest here, metas don't stick around forever, so you might want to get your hands on the Waking Vigil while you still can and be ahead of the game, especially in the PvP department. Now, not to say that this is only a PvP weapon. Me personally, I prefer 140s in PvE to 120s. The only way that I normally use a 120 in PvE is if it has an element that I need or it has overflow, because I just like having a constant barrage of bullets. But Waking Vigil is definitely a very nice arc hand cannon, and you should definitely try to get your hands on one if you don't already. Since this weapon is used in PvP normally more than anything, we'll go and take a look at those rolls first. Whenever it comes to PvP, you're going to try to get as much range out of this weapon as humanly possible. Again, we are in the 120 meta. You are going to need as much range as possible. So going with something like ricochet rounds for the extra range and stability, rangefinder as well as opening shot, you are looking at a very good combination of perks here for PvP. Of course, Outlaw is another perk that I really like, very similar to Rapid Hit as well, if that's your thing, or even Surplus, because Surplus is going to give you the reload speed and stability and handling and everything like that. But as far as like the perk combinations go for this weapon, I mean, making sure that you have Rapid Hit, Outlaw, Surplus, or Rangefinder, any of those in the first perk slot are pretty good. And for the second perk slot, I mean, opening shot's nice, kill clip if that's your thing, and maybe even snapshot if you want to make sure that you're really snappy in your gunfights. I mean, any of those perks are going to be pretty good, but for me personally, I'm going to be going for ricochet rounds, rangefinder, and opening shot. I just don't think your Waking Vigil is going to get much better than that in PvP, but you can mix and match your perks around and you'll still be good to go. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect to what I like. Now, as far as PvE is concerned, me personally, I'd probably go with Extended Mag, Outlaw, and Kill Clip. If you're doing stuff like GMs, instead of having Kill Clip, you could have Disruption Break, and instead of having Outlaw, you could have something like Rapid Hit or Surplus. But this kind of perk combination right here can be pretty nasty. I do have a Surplus Kill Clip version of the Waking Vigil, and it's very, very fun to use. Like I said, I love 140s in PvE. Disruption Break definitely gives this weapon a bit of a GM Nightfall usage, or even Master Nightfall usage in the high-end content, if that's mainly your thing. But yeah, you know, Waking Vigil, it's good in pretty much any game mode that you play. Mainly, you'll probably be using it in PvP, but there's definitely nothing wrong with killing aliens with this thing. Now, moving on from the Waking Vigil, we have the Blasphemer Shotgun. Now, this weapon right here comes from the Moon, so a quick TLDR on how to farm this gear. If you want to farm Moon gear, you can get it from the Altar of Sorrow public event on the Moon. This is going to rotate every single day to the kind of gear that you'll be able to get from it. And if you want to do the Pit of Heresy, you can do that as well for weapons. Do keep in mind that the Premonition Pulse Rifle is only going to be found in the Pit of Heresy and not from the Altar of Sorrow. So just make sure that you're farming Altar of Sorrow. The weapon changes every single day. It's a very good way to focus farm gear because it's very easy public event to do. And of course, like I said, Pit of Heresy, you might as well be playing Pit anyways for the really good armor at the end, and you do have a chance at getting yourself a Blasphemer from that as well, or any other Moon weapon. Now, taking a look at the Blasphemer, this right here is a precision frame shotgun. Now, what exactly separates this weapon from the other precision frames? I mean, we have things like Heritage, and we have things like the First In Last Out. Now, this specifically is a kinetic, so it's definitely competing with the Heritage. So what does it have on the Heritage? Well, it has a unique quality that other shotguns don't tend to have, and that is actually 4th times the charm. Normally you don't see this on shotguns. Whenever you're taking a look at a PvE roll on this weapon, Assault Mag, 4 times the charm, and Swashbuckler or Rampage, I mean, this is crazy, right? If this weapon has 6 rounds in the magazine, using 4 times the charm and landing all of your shots, you will be able to shoot 10 times before you have to reload. That is 10 times in a row before you even have to reload. So that's definitely something to kind of take into consideration when taking a look at this weapon. It is very unique in that sense. Would I use this over the Heritage in 90% of situations? Probably not, but it is something that is unique to this shotgun, and I figured that I'd point it out because, well, I think 4 times the charm on a precision frame is a really neat trait. Now, taking a look at the PvP rolls for this weapon, you can actually get some really good rolls. If you're looking for something that's kind of similar to the Chaperone and you want to be able to use this instead of having that take your exotic slot, that's kind of where the Blasphemer comes into play for PvP, using something like accurized rounds for extra range, quick draw so that you can pull out your weapon quicker, and opening shot so that you can get that extra accuracy, range, aim assist, all that on your first shot. The Blasphemer actually makes for a pretty nasty PvP weapon. This is probably where the weapon is going to shine because it has so much competition with the Heritage, but this weapon right here, it's pretty unique. The perks are very nice, the weapon is rolled very nice overall, and I kind of like it. I really want to farm myself a PvP version of this weapon so that if I ever do want to use something like a precision frame, I won't have to use the Chaperone, meaning that I can use my Igneous Hammer, use Blasphemer, and if I want to be a little asshole, I can equip Wardcliff Coil and blast away all my enemies. Moving on from the Blasphemer, we have the Vouchsafe Scout Rifle from the Dreaming City. Now, this right here is a lightweight frame scout, and it's one of the few scouts in the game that are currently usable that are of the Void element, basically immediately separating this weapon right here. Now, of course, you could make a point for the Royal Chase.
That shit is a 2-pack of ass.
But I don't know a damn person in the world that is using Royal Chase. If you're using Royal Chase, you need help, okay? That comes from the Wrathborn hunts, and we don't do that on this channel. Wrathborn hunts bad, Vouchsafe weapon good. All jokes aside though, this weapon feels like an absolute breeze to use in PvE, and like I said, because of its element, it's definitely probably gonna see some use in Grandmaster Nightfalls, especially whenever the seasonal, mods are basically centric around scout rifles. Now, taking a look at the rolls, you can get something like Tactical Mag so that you can have stability, magazine, reload speed. In the first perk slot, you can have something like Rapid Hit or something like 4 times the charm to basically give you a continuous round of bullets to keep going and going and going. In the second slot, you can get something like Explosive Payload. Who doesn't like Explosive Payload? Maybe you go with Vorpal. If you want like the 15% extra damage if you're in a GM and you're dealing damage to big boys out there. But this weapon right here, it's got some pretty decent rolls. I think something like Rapid Hit and Explosive Payload can be very fun. 4 times the charm Explosive Payload could be very fun as well. And Vorpal, if you're really into those GMs, into those Master Nightfalls, you're trying to squeeze out damage on those high health bars, you could go with that as well if you wanted to. As far as PvP is concerned, and I have not used this weapon in PvP, if it's not trustee and it's not like an exotic scout rifle, then normally you don't just see much play from it. So I haven't tested it. It also kind of doesn't help that I don't have a good PvP roll, but as far as PvP is concerned, Rapid Hit's a good perk, Surplus is a good perk, Wellspring is nice, and so is Explosive Payload. You're not really gonna see much use of this weapon in PvP. I just thought that I'd mention it for those guys that are curious for what kind of roll you might want to go for. Now, moving on over from the Vouchsafe, we have the high impact frame energy pulse rifle known as the Premonition. Now, this is a void damage pulse rifle, so immediately you will be able to see use of this thing in high-end Nightfall content like Masters as well as Grandmasters. If Last Perdition has been your thing recently, then maybe you might want to use this instead. It's also high impact frame, meaning that it's pretty good in PvP as well, but it definitely has a lot of competition as far as the PvP landscape is concerned. Now, taking a look at the Premonition's rolls, firstly for PvP, you can go with something like Feeding Frenzy as well as Surplus in that first slot, and for the second slot, you could go for Rampage and Headseeker. Very, very good perks, nothing wrong with those whatsoever. Feeding Frenzy to allow you to reload quicker after a kill. Surplus allow you to just basically have a huge amount of bonuses to your stats just by having abilities. Of course, Rampage is very nice on these weapons so that you can get even more damage output. And of course, Headseeker, if you're not hitting all headshots, your body shots that you're landing will increase your next headshot and kind of help you out if your aim isn't all the way way there. So the PvP rolls are pretty good. Now taking a look at the PvE rolls, you can go with something like Feeding Frenzy Surplus in the first slot, High Impact Reserves, and Rampage in the second slot. Nothing absolutely crazy here in terms of rolls, like it's not going to absolutely wow you, but the weapon itself and the archetype that it's in and the stats that it has, and honestly just the overall feel of the gun, it's a very nice weapon overall. It's just not something that's going to absolutely wow you out of this world, but if you're looking for a, you know, energy pulse and it's void and you want to replace your last perdition, I mean, the Premonition isn't a bad choice. And keep in mind, this is a moon weapon, and unlike the other moon weapons, this is going to be found exclusively in the Pit of Heresy, so go ahead and get to farming if you want to get your hands on this weapon. Now, speaking of other moon weapons, let's go and move on over to the Heretic Rocket Launcher. Now, this rocket launcher right here was already a pretty big favorite in the community as a pretty decent rocket launcher, but with the most recent rocket launcher buffs and the new rocket launcher perks, it's pretty much gotten better. Taking a look at the perk pool for this weapon, you can go with Impact Casing. This is going to give you more damage on direct hits. In the first slot, you can go with Field Prep, and in the second slot, go with Lasting Impression. There is no reason not to go with Lasting Impression. It is a 19% damage increase to your rockets, and it is very, very nice. It's just going to stick the enemy, sit there for a few seconds, and then explode. It is a very good damage increase. There is no reason not to go for it. Taking a look at the PvP rolls, you can go with something like Impulse Amplifier. This is going to give your weapon even more velocity so that you can reach the enemies you're aiming at, and then you can also go with Cluster Bombs to allow your, you know, rockets to explode and hit enemies around them and allow you to deal even more damage in PvP. Heretic, just overall, it's a pretty good rocket launcher, aggressive frame, it's arc, so if you're looking for arc specifically and you want something with good perks and good stats, I mean, you know, the Heretic, you really can't go wrong. It's your average run-of-the-mill rocket launcher, and there's no reason to ignore it. It's a pretty good weapon, but there's other rocket launchers out there that might be competing for your love and affection. Now, moving on over from the Heretic, we have the Sleepless rocket launcher from the Dreaming City. Now, the Sleepless rocket launcher is very, very, very unique in the sense that it actually comes with Vorpal weapon in its perk pool. So taking a look at the perks that you might want to go with this, Impact Casing is going to be very nice, more damage on direct hits. In the first slot, Field Prep so that you can reload faster while crouched and have extra reserves, and you could also go auto loading so you can stow your rocket launcher, have it reload, and then pull it back out. In the second slot, you have Vorpal weapon, which is going to allow you to deal more damage against bosses, vehicles, and guardians and their supers. Now, the problem with this rocket launcher is that Vorpal is worse than Lasting Impression. Lasting Impression gives you a flat 19% damage increase to your damage, while Vorpal gives you just under 15%, and it's also only usable against those bosses and high health bar enemies. Meaning that even though it's very nice to have Vorpal, because not many rocket launchers have Vorpal, there's really no reason to if Lasting Impression exists, in my opinion. Now, you will find use for Vorpal, however, maybe a bit in PvP more than you will Lasting Impression, because Lasting Impression just isn't a good perk to have in PvP because your enemies aren't going to wait on you to basically allow your rocket to explode 9 times out of 10. So as far as PvP is concerned, going with something like high velocity rounds so that you get extra velocity on your rockets, tracking so that, well, you can track your enemies, and then Vorpal so that you can maybe kill people inside of supers, that might be the moves for this rocket launcher. Just like the Heretic, it is an arc rocket launcher, but the Heretic, in my opinion, just automatically beats it because it has Lasting Impression and Field Prep and stuff. There's just not really much of a reason to ever go for the Sleepless. And the last weapon on this list is actually going to be the Apostate Sniper Rifle. It is a rapid fire frame sniper, and I'm going to be honest, guys, not a fan at all of the sniper. It basically has next to no use in PvE. Of course, this is a moon weapon, by the way, so you can farm it from Altar of Sorrow if you want, but there is no good PvE perks on this weapon. Sniper rifles are not used for regular ad clears, so why would you need things like Outlaw? Why would you need things like Surplus? Why would you need things like Wellspring or Explosive Payload or anything, Kill Clip? You know, you don't need any of that, because snipers are normally used for taking down health bars. So it doesn't have firing line, it doesn't have anything that's gonna help it, like triple tap, 4 times a charm, nothing like that. It's not gonna have any usability in PvE, in my opinion. It's also an arc weapon, which immediately makes it get outclassed by the Adored, because Adored has triple tap Vorpal. There's just no reason to use this thing in PvE. If you're looking for a PvP roll, no distractions, opening shot, seems like a pretty good roll to me. Nothing absolutely cracked out of its mind, but it'll do the job. And guys, that is it for this video. Taking a look at all the Dreaming City and all of the moon weapons that have found their way back into Destiny 2 with Season of the Chosen, going over all of their rolls, how to get your hands on them, and everything in between. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. This video took quite a long time to make, so I definitely would appreciate if you made it to this point in the video, if you would comment the word bread, and if you would also leave a like on the video. It would definitely make me super happy. But guys, that is it for me in today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy the content. If you did, let me know down in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.